In the aftermath of 9/11, the CIA launched a controversial counterintelligence program under terms like enhanced interrogation techniques.
Interrogators use methods like waterboarding to get America's enemies to spill their secrets.
Behind these euphemisms lay a grim reality: torture. Recently declassified documents, including a 535-page Senate report, exposed the disturbing methods used on detainees in secret black site prisons.
It was a worthwhile program from which valuable intelligence was derived.
These revelations paint a harrowing picture of inhumane treatment and ineffective tactics in extracting information.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 183 times. What does that tell you? Did that tell you the technique is working?
Join us as we uncover the shocking details of these programs, including insights from Abu Zubaydah's lawyer, Mark P. Denbeaux, who reveals the grim truths behind these hidden operations.
This is a torture program, the ultimate technique. And he got up from his desk and he whispered in my ear, "Kill them all."
Loud music. The CIA's counterintelligence program deployed extreme and degrading measures against detainees, including the deliberate use of music as a psychological weapon. While playing music may initially seem harmless, it was weaponized to erode detainees' mental stability. Tracks were blasted at high decibels for hours or even days without interruption, creating a relentless auditory assault. Sergeant Mark Hadsell of the U.S. Psychological Operations Team explained, "If you play it for 24 hours, your brain and body functions start to slide, your train of thought slows, and your will is broken." Detainees were forced to endure tracks like Eminem's The Real Slim Shady, Queen's We Are the Champions, and the Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever. Repetitive and seemingly innocent tunes, such as Barney's I Love You and the Meow Mix jingle, were also used to amplify psychological distress. These auditory attacks were often paired with cultural insensitivity, including playing Arab music during Ramadan to show contempt for detainees' religious practices. Combined with other tactics like sleep deprivation and starvation, these measures aimed to dismantle individuals' resistance while raising serious ethical and legal questions about their inhumanity. Now it's time for the topic of the day. A chilling photo recently went viral resembling Gul Rahman, the Afghan detainee who tragically died in 2002 at a CIA black site. Is this photo a call to reflect on history, or merely a coincidence sparking debate? Share your thoughts and interpretations in the comments below. Sleep deprivation. In the wake of the September 11th attacks in 2011, the Central Intelligence Agency launched a counterintelligence program that blurred the lines between interrogation and torture, operating under terms like enhanced interrogation techniques and persistent conditioning. The program relied on severe measures to extract information from detainees, often without yielding reliable results. Recently declassified documents, including a 535-page report by the Senate Intelligence Committee, reveal the grim extent of these practices. Sleep deprivation was among the most harrowing tactics. Detainees were kept awake for up to 7 days straight or subjected to intermittent deprivation over a span of 3 months. Known as the frequent flyer program, prisoners were moved between cells every few hours, denying them rest. Other methods included exposure to freezing cold water, blinding lights, deafening music, and deliberate starvation, all designed to break both mental and physical resistance. These techniques, often implemented in secret black site prisons, have come under intense scrutiny for their inhumanity and ineffectiveness. Lawyer Mark P. Denbeaux's report on Abu Zubaydah sheds further light on these abuses, revealing the devastating consequences of this dark chapter in modern intelligence operations. Cramped confinement. Prisoners subjected to CIA interrogation tactics were often confined to small, pitch-dark spaces for extended periods, leading to immense physical discomfort and profound psychological distress. One detainee, Abu Zubaydah, recounted being locked in a box so small that he was unable to sit upright or fully stretch out, forcing his body into unnatural, painful positions for hours or even days. These confinement boxes were deliberately designed to instill a sense of helplessness and claustrophobia. To amplify the fear, interrogators sometimes introduced harmless insects into the box. However, detainees were left uncertain about the insect's nature, often believing they were venomous. This cruel psychological manipulation was intended to exploit phobias, leaving prisoners trapped in an unrelenting state of anxiety and terror. The use of these confinement boxes was paired with other degrading tactics, such as prolonged isolation, which has been shown to deteriorate mental health rapidly. Prisoners would often lose track of time, experience hallucinations, or develop severe depression. The deliberate cruelty of these methods has been widely criticized, not only for their inhumanity, but also for their questionable effectiveness in gathering actionable intelligence. These practices have since become a symbol of the excesses and moral failures of post-September 11th counterterrorism programs. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse, although not formally included in the official guidelines for interrogation, was nonetheless employed as a means to humiliate and break detainees. The aim was to degrade individuals and target their sense of dignity and identity. One form of abuse involved coercing detainees into sexual acts or using rape as a tool of psychological destruction. In some cases, electric shocks were applied to the genital area, causing both excruciating physical pain and profound emotional distress. Female interrogators were often employed to exploit cultural and religious taboos, using their gender to manipulate and dehumanize detainees further. One particularly insidious tactic involved wiping detainees with fake menstrual blood, a practice designed to violate deeply ingrained cultural and religious sensitivities. For detainees, especially those from conservative backgrounds, this act added a layer of humiliation and shame that would last long after the interrogation ended. Female detainees were subjected to further violations. In some instances, they were raped in front of male prisoners, escalating the humiliation not just for the individual but for the larger group as well. These acts of sexual violence were employed to create an atmosphere of terror and helplessness, ensuring detainees were left psychologically scarred, unable to trust anyone, and fearful of further abuses. Drug use. The CIA has long employed mind-altering substances in its interrogation practices, hoping to break down a detainee's mental state and extract information. One particularly disturbing method involved administering high doses of mefloquine, an anti-malarial drug known for its severe psychological side effects, such as paranoia, hallucinations, and aggression. The idea behind using mefloquine was not to elicit truthful or reliable information, but rather to push detainees to the point of mental breakdown, exploiting their psychological vulnerability. Mefloquine, when taken in large doses, can cause disorientation and alter a person's perception of reality. Detainees who were subjected to this drug often experienced terrifying hallucinations, intense feelings of paranoia, and overwhelming confusion. These effects made it increasingly difficult for detainees to trust their own senses or make coherent decisions. The use of mind-altering drugs, such as mefloquine, underscores the lengths to which the CIA was willing to go in its interrogation methods. Rather than gathering intelligence through ethical or reliable means, the agency prioritized mental manipulation and coercion, resulting in long-term psychological damage for those who were subjected to this form of abuse. The practice highlights a disturbing chapter in the history of U.S. intelligence and its treatment of detainees. Walling. The technique known as walling involved slamming detainees into walls to intimidate, disorient, and inflict physical pain. While official descriptions claimed the walls were fake and flexible, many reports revealed that detainees were often slammed into concrete or other unyielding surfaces, resulting in severe injuries. The detainee's head and neck were supported by a rolled towel to prevent immediate whiplash. But this did little to mitigate the overall trauma. Hooded and disoriented, detainees were dragged by their collars and repeatedly slammed against walls, an act designed to break their psychological and physical resistance. In some cases, detainees already suffering from pre-existing injuries, such as broken feet or bruised ribs, were subjected to walling, exacerbating their pain and rendering them unable to stand or walk afterward. Declassified reports highlight that this tactic was often used excessively, with no consistent procedural oversight. Interrogators were left to decide how much force to use, creating a high risk of abuse and further harm. Walling was not just about physical damage, it was a psychological weapon meant to instill terror and helplessness. The sound of bodies hitting the wall, often amplified by enclosed spaces, was used to create an atmosphere of dread among detainees. Despite claims that such techniques were meant to extract intelligence, experts and investigations have shown that walling, like other forms of torture, often yielded unreliable information, relying on fear rather than cooperation. Waterboarding. Waterboarding, a widely condemned interrogation method, is a form of simulated drowning that inflicts intense physical and psychological suffering. The technique involved covering the detainee's face with a towel or cloth, tilting their head downward, and pouring water over their nose and mouth. This process triggered the gag reflex, inducing a sensation of choking and causing water to enter the lungs. Detainees subjected to waterboarding experienced a terrifying sense of suffocation and panic, with many describing the ordeal as feeling like they were on the brink of death. Former U.S. Navy Chief Malcolm Nance, who witnessed waterboarding during military training, unequivocally described it as torture, not simulation. Originally developed for survival training under controlled conditions, the practice was controversially repurposed as an interrogation tool in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. Despite its use, experts widely agree that waterboarding is unreliable, often leading to false confessions rather than actionable intelligence. The technique also carries significant risks of lasting harm, including brain damage from oxygen deprivation, psychological trauma, and damage to the respiratory system. Its use has drawn sharp criticism from human rights advocates and legal experts who argue it violates international laws against torture and undermines moral authority in counterterrorism efforts. Threats. Interrogators frequently relied on threats against detainees and their families to instill fear and pressure individuals into cooperating. One of the most chilling tactics involved threatening to harm or kill a detainee's loved ones. These threats were meant to break down any remaining resolve, forcing detainees to choose between their loyalty to their beliefs and their desire to protect their families. To make these threats more convincing, interrogators staged mock executions. Guards would fire guns outside interrogation rooms, creating the terrifying illusion that a detainee was about to be executed. Hooded detainees, unable to see what was happening around them, were left in a state of absolute fear, unsure whether they would live or die. These mock executions were psychological tools used to manipulate detainees, making them believe that death was imminent and reinforcing the powerlessness of their situation. The tactic was not just about intimidation, but about breaking a person's will to resist. It left deep psychological scars, as detainees lived in constant fear of not only their own lives, but the lives of their families. These threats created an environment where trust and hope were eradicated, leaving prisoners vulnerable and susceptible to further abuse. Facial hold. This technique, known as facial hold, involved an interrogator gripping the detainee's face firmly to immobilize their head, creating a sense of helplessness and reinforcing the interrogator's dominance. While it may appear minor compared to other aggressive methods, its psychological impact was amplified when paired with other abuses. The detainee's inability to move, combined with the firm physical restraint, instilled feelings of submission and fear. This seemingly simple gesture became a tool to assert authority, disorient the detainee, and break their resistance. The facial hold was often combined with tactics such as prolonged standing, loud music, sleep deprivation, or stress positions, enhancing its psychological effect. It was intended to remind the detainee that their body and autonomy were entirely under the interrogator's control. When used during questioning, the technique made detainees feel physically confined, intensifying their vulnerability. Reports from declassified documents indicate that such seemingly subtle techniques were strategically designed to create cumulative psychological distress. The facial hold was not a standalone measure. It was part of a broader program of coercive methods that exploited both the body and mind. By intertwining physical and mental duress, these practices aimed to erode the detainee's capacity to resist, leaving lasting scars on their psyche. Rectal rehydration. One of the most degrading practices used during interrogations was rectal feeding or rectal rehydration, a method that was not only medically unnecessary, but also intentionally humiliating. CIA officials described it as a well-acknowledged medical technique, although this was far from the truth. Detainees were subjected to the forced administration of liquefied food, such as hummus and pasta, through the rectum. This procedure was not intended for nutritional necessity, but rather as a tool of psychological and physical abuse. In addition to the rectal feeding, detainees were often forced to wear soiled diapers for extended periods, amplifying their physical discomfort and emotional distress. These inhumane practices were employed to break detainees both mentally and physically, further asserting dominance over them. Despite the extreme measures taken, the intelligence gathered through these tactics was largely unreliable. Many detainees were held indefinitely, with no trial or proof of their guilt or innocence. The revelations from declassified documents have shed light on the harrowing experiences faced by detainees and raised significant concerns about the ethics, human rights violations, and the accountability of those involved in the program. The legacy of these practices remains a dark chapter in history. Let's know about the top intelligence agencies in the world. National Intelligence Service, NIS, South Korea. The National Intelligence Service, NIS, was originally formed in 1961 as the Korean Central Intelligence Agency, tasked with handling national security and intelligence. Over time, it has undergone several transformations in response to accusations of abuse of power and corruption. The agency's most notorious event occurred in 1979, when its director, Kim Jae-gyu, assassinated President Park Chung-hee, leading to national turmoil. In 1999, the agency was rebranded as the National Intelligence Service in an effort to distance itself from its past. The NIS operates with three main directorates, one focused on domestic affairs, another on international affairs, and a third dedicated to monitoring North Korea. Despite several reforms, the agency has remained embroiled in scandals, including the manipulation of the 2012 presidential election to help secure the re-election of President Park Geun-hye. This interference in the democratic process caused a significant public outcry. In 2020, further efforts were made to curb abuses of power within the agency. Most notably, former President Park Geun-hye issued a public apology for the agency's past wrongdoings, signaling an attempt to rebuild public trust and restore the integrity of the NIS. Federal Intelligence Service, BND, Germany. The Bundesnachrichtendienst, BND, or Federal Intelligence Service of Germany, was established in 1956, built upon the remnants of the Gehlen Organization, a group formed after World War II. The BND quickly became an integral part of Germany's intelligence community and worked closely with the CIA during the Cold War, primarily focusing on gathering intelligence on the Eastern Bloc and monitoring Soviet activities. Early on, the agency faced significant controversy for employing former Nazi officers, which raised ethical concerns given their past associations. In the modern era, the BND has evolved to focus on surveillance, wiretapping, and cyber intelligence, with a primary objective of safeguarding German national interests. The agency's role in counterterrorism and combating cyber threats has become increasingly prominent. However, despite its successes, the BND has faced challenges from foreign espionage, particularly from Russian intelligence services. Several high-profile moles within the agency have been arrested in recent years, raising concerns about its security. To maintain its integrity and adapt to the changing landscape of global intelligence, the BND continues to emphasize transparency. With its headquarters located in Berlin, the agency remains committed to safeguarding both German and international security. Australian Secret Intelligence Service, ASIS, Australia. The Australian Secret Intelligence Service, ASIS, founded in 1952, is responsible for gathering intelligence from overseas sources. Its domestic counterpart, the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation, ASIO, handles internal intelligence and security matters. For many years, ASIS's existence was kept secret, and it wasn't until a 1972 newspaper expose that the agency was publicly acknowledged. Despite the secrecy surrounding its operations, ASIS has built a reputation for its effectiveness in various intelligence and counterintelligence activities. One of ASIS's notable achievements is its role in anti-smuggling operations, which have helped combat the illicit trade of drugs and arms across borders. The agency is also well regarded for its partnerships with foreign intelligence services, collaborating with agencies from countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Today, ASIS works with more than 170 intelligence services across nearly 70 countries. However, ASIS has faced controversy, particularly due to its covert involvement in supporting the US-backed overthrow of Chile's government in 1973. Despite these issues, the agency remains a crucial player in global intelligence networks, maintaining a strong presence in international espionage and security operations. Directorate General for External Security, DGSE, France. The Directorate General for External Security, DGSE, operating under the French Ministry of Armed Forces, is responsible for handling France's foreign intelligence matters. It works alongside the Directorate General for Internal Security, DGSI, which is tasked with domestic intelligence operations. The DGSE was established in 1982, replacing the previous agency, the Service de Documentation Extérieure et de Contre-Espionnage, SDECE, which had been embroiled in controversy, particularly due to its involvement in the 1965 disappearance of Moroccan politician Mehdi Ben Barka. The DGSE's establishment marked a new era of intelligence work in France with a focus on both traditional espionage and modern counterterrorism operations. Over the years, the DGSE has carried out several high-profile operations, including infiltrating extremist training camps in Afghanistan during the 1990s to monitor emerging terrorist threats. Its work in surveillance, cyber intelligence, and counterintelligence has been crucial for French national security. However, the agency has faced its own set of challenges. In recent years, revelations surfaced that China had successfully recruited and arrested retired DGSE agents, highlighting vulnerabilities in France's intelligence network. Despite these setbacks, the DGSE remains a key player in global intelligence operations. Federal Security Service, FSB, Russia. The Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation, or FSB, was formed in 1995 as the successor to the Soviet Union's infamous KGB. Initially tasked with counterintelligence, security, and surveillance, the FSB quickly became a key component of Russia's intelligence apparatus. The agency gained international notoriety during the leadership of Vladimir Putin, who served as its director before transitioning to the presidency in 2000. Under his tenure, the FSB has been associated with various covert operations and controversial activities. One of the highest-profile incidents involving the FSB was the poisoning of former officer Alexander Litvinenko in 2006, which occurred in London. Litvinenko's death, attributed to radioactive polonium-210, has been linked to FSB operatives, contributing to the agency's dark reputation. The FSB has also been implicated in other assassinations and politically motivated killings, often with little accountability. In recent years, the FSB has expanded its reach into cyber espionage, launching operations designed to interfere with global democracies, including alleged interference in elections. These actions have cemented the FSB's status as a highly secretive and controversial organization, with its influence spanning beyond Russia's borders. Ministry of State Security, MSS, China. The Ministry of State Security, MSS, of China, established in 1983, is responsible for both domestic and international intelligence, as well as secret police activities and national security. With few limitations on surveillance, the MSS exercises considerable control over China's population, maintaining a tight grip on both internal and external threats. The agency is notorious for its extensive cyber espionage efforts, which target global communications, intellectual property, and government systems. In recent years, the MSS has faced increasing international scrutiny, particularly for its activities in Xinjiang, where it has been accused of human rights abuses against the Uyghur population. The agency has also been involved in aggressive operations against foreign governments, media, and organizations. These actions have drawn widespread condemnation from human rights organizations and foreign governments. To counteract its negative image, the MSS has recently embarked on efforts to improve its public image. This includes engaging in social media campaigns and even producing promotional comics that attempt to portray the agency as a protector of Chinese citizens' interests. Despite these efforts, the MSS's operations, both within China and abroad, continue to be a subject of international controversy and criticism, particularly regarding issues of privacy, freedom, and human rights. Secret Intelligence Service, MI6, United Kingdom. The Secret Intelligence Service, known as MI6, was officially established in 1909, initially focusing on monitoring the activities of the Imperial German Navy. Over time, the agency expanded its scope, becoming a key player in foreign intelligence operations. MI6 gained prominence during the World Wars, playing a crucial role in espionage, intelligence gathering, and counterintelligence activities. The agency's most famous fictional portrayal, through the character of James Bond, cemented its global reputation as a symbol of sophisticated espionage. However, MI6's legacy was marred by the scandal of the Cambridge Five, a group of British spies who secretly worked for the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The revelation of their betrayal in the 1950s severely damaged MI6's credibility, raising questions about internal security and trust. Despite this setback, the agency rebuilt its reputation and continued to evolve, adapting to new threats in the post-Cold War era. Today, MI6 excels in counterterrorism, cybersecurity, and intelligence gathering. Its role in combating global terrorism, thwarting cyber threats, and protecting national interests ensures its continued relevance in the modern world. MI6 remains one of the most respected intelligence agencies, with a reputation for professionalism and secrecy. Research and Analysis Wing, RAW, India. The Research and Analysis Wing, RAW, established in 1968 in the aftermath of the Sino-Indian War, was created to address the intelligence failures that had hindered India's defense during the conflict. Operating under the direct authority of the Prime Minister, RAW primarily focuses on gathering foreign intelligence, with a major emphasis on Pakistan. Over the years, the agency has become integral to India's national security, undertaking various covert operations, including counterterrorism missions, surveillance, and espionage activities. RAW has had a significant role in India's efforts to combat regional instability, often engaging in operations aimed at curbing Pakistan's influence in the region. The agency has also been involved in intelligence gathering related to China and other neighboring countries. However, RAW's activities have not been without controversy. One such instance is the recent allegations linking the agency to the assassination of Canadian Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar in 2023. These claims have strained diplomatic relations between India and Canada, underscoring the contentious role that RAW sometimes plays in international affairs. Despite these controversies, RAW continues to be a powerful force in Indian intelligence, maintaining a high level of secrecy and influence in the country's strategic operations. Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations, Mossad, Israel. Mossad, established in 1949, is Israel's national intelligence agency, renowned for its daring operations, high-profile assassinations, and strategic intelligence gathering. The agency's primary mission is to secure the Jewish state through espionage, counterterrorism, and covert operations, both within Israel and abroad. One of its most notable successes came in 1960 when Mossad agents captured Adolf Eichmann, a key architect of the Holocaust, in Argentina. Eichmann's capture and subsequent trial in Israel was a significant victory for Israeli intelligence and justice. In 1972, Mossad's reputation further solidified after the Munich Olympics attack, where Palestinian terrorists kidnapped and killed Israeli athletes. In response, Mossad launched Operation Wrath of God, a secret campaign aimed at eliminating those responsible for the attack. This operation involved a series of targeted assassinations across Europe, showcasing Mossad's global reach and commitment to safeguarding Israeli interests. Mossad continues to be a pivotal force in Middle Eastern intelligence, operating in high-stakes environments with a focus on counterterrorism, cyber operations, and regional security. Its covert activities often make headlines, and its influence in shaping Israeli and global security policy remains unmatched, making Mossad one of the world's most feared and respected intelligence agencies. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, USA. Following the dissolution of the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, after World War II, the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, was established in 1947 to address the growing tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. Tasked with foreign intelligence gathering, espionage, and covert operations, the CIA quickly became a pivotal player in the Cold War, focusing on gathering information on Soviet activities and countering communist influence worldwide. Throughout its history, CIA has been linked to several controversial missions. The 1961 Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba, aimed at overthrowing Fidel Castro, ended in failure and embarrassment for the agency, highlighting the risks involved in clandestine operations. The CIA was also involved in the MK-Ultra program, which experimented with mind-altering drugs for interrogation and psychological warfare, a dark chapter that has led to public scrutiny and legal challenges. Despite these controversies, the CIA has remained a cornerstone of global intelligence, continually evolving with new technologies in cyber espionage, counterterrorism, and information warfare. Its role in gathering critical intelligence, influencing foreign policies, and conducting covert operations has solidified its position as one of the most powerful and influential intelligence agencies in the world. Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS, Canada. The Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS, was established in 1984 to handle national security and intelligence matters, particularly following the dissolution of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police's RCMP intelligence branch. Operating under the Canadian Security Intelligence Service Act, CSIS is tasked with investigating threats to Canada's security, including terrorism, espionage, and foreign interference. CSIS has been involved in numerous high-profile cases, including counter-terrorism efforts against extremist groups and foreign agents operating within Canada. One of its major challenges has been balancing national security concerns with protecting civil liberties, particularly in relation to surveillance practices and the treatment of individuals under investigation. Despite strict guidelines, CSIS has faced controversy, such as accusations of unlawful surveillance and cooperation with foreign intelligence agencies in questionable operations. The service is also responsible for providing intelligence to the Canadian government and cooperating with international allies, including the United States and the United Kingdom. In addition to domestic counterintelligence and counterterrorism operations, CSIS engages in activities to thwart cyber threats, support law enforcement, and gather foreign intelligence. Despite occasional controversies, CSIS plays an integral role in maintaining Canada's security in an increasingly complex global environment. Do you like spy movies? Let's speak about the best spy movies of all time, shall we? Thanks for watching. If you found this video on the most brutal interrogation techniques used by the CIA interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more eye-opening content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload on the dark and often unsettling world of intelligence and espionage. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know what topics you'd like us to explore next. Stay tuned, and see you in the next video.